Hello and welcome along to another episode and another new season from this FM22 One Club story from Hemel Hempstead Town with me, Daniel. We're back today for part 54 and this one's massive. We are making our debut in League One. It is season 7 and we've got a transfer special on our hands. We start at home to Mansfield in the league. We'll see that before the episode's out too. But there are a lot of painful, maybe a lot of emotional and heartfelt goodbyes. But there's also a few new exciting introductions, as well as a little bit of frustration too. It's a window that's had basically everything, but overall, we mentioned it in the season review, we've got a decent squad, and we feel like we can stay up in League One. So if you're looking forward to the episode, finding out which key targets we missed out on and what new introductions we've got at the club, please do put a thumbs up on the video, subscribe down below for daily FM22 content from 2 long-term stories. We've got our season finale in the head coach tomorrow, and then we'll have a transfer special there in 3 days' time too. And this season promises to be a very big one in this save. Are we going to be able to survive comfortably, as the board and I kind of expect to with the players we've got? Or will we end up having a little blip? Will we end up going back to back? You just don't know. And that's the beauty of this. You can see the bank balance has taken a little hit, so we'll have a look at why that might be later on too. But overall, it's a very exciting season. You can see anything you might have missed up in the eye above. We've got the likes of the Twitch channel, the football podcast, and much more too. But thank you very much for your incredible support as we head in to Transfer Window Special. Let's go and have a look at who left the club, and then we'll find out who's joined too. Lots of early work this summer. And we start, as always, with the released players from Hemel Hempstead. So Bradley Dack retired. He came in. It was always going to be a 6-month deal, and he did a nice job for us. He helped us out, played a few decent games, scored a goal or two, and he was pretty solid. So really happy that he got a little stint for us, and it's a nice one for him to remember in retirement. Finishing off with a title can't be too bad. Will Nightingale, he goes on a free. Victor Sedende, I'm afraid our record league goal scorer has to go. That he's just not good enough anymore. And it's ironic because with what's happened since, he would be our 4th choice striker now. But unfortunately, I don't think he's willing to rejoin. No, he doesn't want to come back yet. But he was a brilliant servant, and we owe him an awful lot for those first 2 promotions, for the magic that we had in the FA Trophy. Zedende was a huge part of that. And he's a wonderful player who currently has his place in the history books. Kobe Rowe, another one that was crucial, albeit in a smaller stint. He was key to that relegation survival the first season when we looked down and out. He came in on loan and really made a difference. Ryan Joseph, again, few crucial goals before, but not so much now. Fidel Ross-Lang, probably his injury, as well as the Ricky J. Jones signing, the things that made us change tactic, because he was flying on that left wing, where Jordan Stevens was failing on the right. He was doing brilliantly, but it just didn't work. He got a big injury, he never really came back from it, and he had another one on loan last year, so was never going to stay. So a number of first team players of years gone by leave the club, but no one that was a key player last season. So I think you can see we're really strengthening the squad by getting in stronger players to replace our backups. The rest of the ones that went out were all youngsters, so not much to get hung up on there. But let's have a look at the players that left the club permanently and on loan too. So I'm hiding the early transfer window ins for a minute. There was one out though before the season clicked over, and that was Matthew Carson. So he had a season on loan at Dulwich Hamlet, then one at Kelty Hearts. This time he's gone back for Dulwich Hamlet again. He's a decent player, but again, he's not League One level, so we just have to let him go. In terms of this season, there's a few players that we'll introduce in a minute. One name you'll be very pleased to see again, but we have made a little bit of money too. So Jaden Eastham and Toussaint Traore are 2 youngsters. They've gone out on loan to local side Biggleswade Town. Teddy Davey, a player we signed from Farnborough for £9,000 when we came up to League 2. He's gone to Tranmere for 3 times that after a year on loan at Torquay. It's a solid player, and now he's going to be a backup in League 2. I don't think he can ask for more than that. He's made a good professional career for himself. We've loaned out Bilal Jesus Garcia to Yeovil of the National League. He was playing in the National League North or South last year. Must have been the South with Havant and Waterlooville. So he's stepping up a level. Hopefully he'll improve. Jordan Stevens, couldn't get him out permanently, but he's gone on loan to Salford. And if he does well in League 2, what's to say he can't reignite his career yet? Mauro Bandera, another one we couldn't sell permanently, so he's gone on loan to Newport County. I think they're in League 2 now as well. They came back up. So he's going to get a chance in the Football League. And then James Daly, the one that I didn't want to lose, the one that I haven't really replaced yet. He's gone to Crewe, 85,000 up front, 160 in total, but all of the add-ons are pretty achievable. As long as he plays a few games and scores, I think, 5 goals, we've got what we need to out of him. It's a shame, he could have been a superstar, but we just had 2 or 3 players that were so good ahead of him, he didn't get his chance. And I do feel for him in some respect. So with those players out, it's important we meet the new ins to the club. Now, you already know that we had 4 pre-agreed youngsters coming out of Premier League academies, and you can see at the bottom of that players in there, we've also got a familiar face returning. So once we've done these 5 bits of business, I was pretty happy with where we were. The first one is remarkable for an 18-year-old because we had these guys on trial for a week each. We got a little bit of an indicator of half of their stats and that sort of stuff. But Harry Thornley came in, and the biggest surprise was nothing to do with his attributes. He is a model citizen at 18. He's a youth international for Wales. He's a brilliant young centre-half. He did have a bit of a weakness in terms of positioning, but that's already improving at a rate of knots. And I know it's a little bit of a risk to bring him into a League One team this season, but I genuinely believe if he plays the full season on the tiny wage he's on, he's going to become one hell of a player. So we're going to try and get him in the team quite quickly. Hopefully start him in the League Cup and then maybe bring him in from there. But what a player. 6 foot, big in the air. He's got all the attributes to be a superstar. The second one, Louis Bennett-Sharif, another defensive player. This time a right back option to compete with McDonough. And maybe even be ahead of McDonough. He's that good. He's earning a bit more money this time, but 3.5 star ability, 4.5 potential. He's a youth international for England. He can play centre half. He's almost 6 foot. He's physically very good. He's mentally pretty capable for a young player. Got great positioning, brilliant in the tackle. We've just got to work on him a little bit going forward. But again, sky's the limit for that kid. Could be a massive one for us in the future. The third is the one we were talking about a couple of episodes ago, Camoy Richardson. He's an attacking player, a bit like Scott Egan when we signed him, but he's not the best finisher in the world. You can already see how training's affecting these lads. And what we're doing with Richardson is we're training him to be a centre midfielder on support, long term replacing either Arthur Reed or Alidor Hamilton. And you can see again, he's 6'2", his jumping reach is massive. He's got that profile of a proper physical Football League player. And in midfield, as a powerhouse, as a technically great player with a brilliant first touch and a great passing range. I mean, again, I'm saying it for every one of them, but they could be superstars. And with a year of development, if we can get them each 15, 20, 25 appearances this year, and then work them into the first team next season, this is why I say I'd like to stay up comfortably this year, and then maybe have a real go at it next year with some of these kids, as they're a year later down the line. The final one is the third player that we got from Liverpool on a free. Competition for Will Swan, and again, maybe slightly better. He can play right wing apparently, we're not worried about that. Leon Bullock is a 3.5 star attacking mid and centre midfielder. Again, not far off 6 foot, but really good technically in the key areas. Not the best finisher, but we're working on that. Physically great, mentally strong. I'm so impressed. You just get that odd year. We had it at the end of the first season where we found 3 or 4 brilliant youngsters out of academies. And I know our scouting range has increased now and our scouting team has increased. And that has allowed us to cover a lot more in terms of scope, in terms of quality, and make sure we get the right players. So to have those 4 wrapped up by the time we'd won the title at the start of May was absolutely fantastic. And that was most of our summer work done. We did, though, ship out a little bit of money, $135,000 for Callon Hazeman, a player that needs no introduction to this football club, only rated 2.5 star ability because he's missing a few key stats as a ball-winning midfielder. But he's brilliant in the pass, he's good in the tackle, and mentally and physically he's pretty strong. He's got potential, I think he will increase in value, and he's already played 23 games for this football club. So after a season at Wigan, who struggled a bit in League 2, he's going to get his chance to step up slowly but surely. And if you add into that the fact that we've still got Egan on loan, we've still got Alidor Hamilton, we've still got Swan, who we managed to keep, and we've got Arthur Reed. It's not a bad midfield in terms of options, is it? We've certainly got a stronger squad than we had last year. Let's move on to this season though, just 3 more players to introduce. And there's a couple of loans there that are basically panic backups, and we're trying to improve on them as we go along. We've got a new parent club because Fulham wouldn't loan us anyone, because apparently we'd played someone out of position last year. I think it might have been DJ Heath. But the 3 we bring in, crucially, Will Swan stays. Going to start the season, he's an experienced player, he's a good finisher, but eventually he'll become back up to Bullock, and we know that. But we're happy to have him from the start. 8 goals in 34 last year, hopefully he can add to that in League 1. Jack McMillan is basically our backup left back at the moment because we don't have another option. Can't really tackle, not great in the key areas, but he's good going forward, he's balanced, he's a good defender, he's 6 foot, and remarkably he's good on the ball, so perhaps he will be a useful utility man even if we don't get in another left back, which we might well be able to introduce in this episode. And then the last one, it was just a panicked fourth striker, Kenny Craig from Aberdeen, the only one that didn't need a massive wage, and I know he's not got the greatest star rating, he's not got the greatest attributes overall, but in the key areas for a poacher and advanced forward, I think he's alright, you know. I'm looking at it and thinking, look, we've got 3 EFL trophy games. We've got a few games where we're going to be without 1 or 2 strikers. Surely he can do a job for us. So as we said, really, it was never going to be the busiest summer. Will Swan stays. We bring in 5 other players. One of them a former one, and then a couple of loans just where we've lost odd players. But it really isn't the big overhaul we saw the season before, because that team was so effective, it deserved to stay. Now, we have got to mention that Gareth McDonough and Scott Egan have stayed for this year. Scott Egan is still officially the best player at the club, and he's now the top earner because we're having to contribute 1.7 grand a week in wages. I am also planning to loan out Josh Berry, the youngster, but he got injured just before the loan offers went out, so he's not going to be going just yet. If we get rid of the unavailable players though, we've got a pretty good and a pretty familiar looking squad. Ricky J. Jones and Javan Malcolm, both wanted by clubs in the Football League, so we're going to have to watch out for that. Tristan Nydam's wanted, and I'm not against selling him if we get the perfect offer, but he is the club captain, so I'm not going to be in a hurry. And Macaulay Gillespie, unhappy, wanted by clubs on loan, but I'm only letting him go if he's permanent, because he's 31, he's going to decline, and you either give us face value or you go away. It's as simple as that. So I think you can probably see this year that there's the potential for a few of our regulars to be overtaken by some of those at the club. Whether that happens quickly, whether that takes time, it doesn't really matter, because we know the squad we've got is good enough. We've got a big injury to our backup keeper, Hornby, so we're desperately hoping G-Cock doesn't get injured for now. And we have potentially got one more left back coming in. Paul Thornhill, Brighton basically offered him to us for no wage. He popped up in the scout report, he looks pretty good on paper. I know he's not the tallest, I know he's not the best, but if he's a good defender and we can bring him in, it seems harmless to do so. We're going to take a gamble on him. Hopefully, he's better than Macmillan from Ross County. But let's have a quick look at the club vision, because there are some good bits of news and a couple of bad bits too. The bad bit mainly being that we're out of contract at the end of the year, but we've managed to tie down a number of the staff, the coaches, etc. Only one chose to leave us to go elsewhere. And we've got that extra upgrade to the training facilities, which will take us above average. If we can get through there, if we can start to invest off the pitch, we can really improve these young players. The more coaches we've got and the better facilities, the better it is for our model of bringing in young players, giving them football, giving them good coaching, and trying to sell them on for a profit. We've got a new senior affiliate at the club, as I mentioned a minute ago. We got to replace Fulham with Chelsea, which means we get over twice the money per year. There's not really anyone available at the moment, because as you can see, the deal only got done in early August, but it gives us a little bit of income, and for the future, if we can get up to maybe championship level, that's where we can potentially get a few players from them. So we'll watch that one with interest. The facilities are fine. We're still at Kenilworth Road, but I don't want to get a new stadium in League One because it will hamper us later down the line. I want to get those training facilities up this year, and then we'll work on the youth ones from next season too. And despite all that money being spent to upgrade things and a little bit spent in the transfer window, we're still in a pretty good position financially. We're making a profit from the season ticket sales. I think we'll be about level. And if we can get to the 3rd or 4th round of the FA Cup, go on a little run, either in that or the League Cup, it could be a really good season. Home to Championship Swansea in the League Cup though, that might be a little bit harder. With that all done though, we start against Mansfield, a side that I wouldn't imagine would be one of the favourites for League One. I might be proven wrong in a minute. But after that, a spate of away games, including Pompey. They're in the EFL Trophy with MK Dons and Watford's 23s. A reunion for Ricky J. Jones, that might be. But let's have a look at where the media have put us and where they've put Mansfield, today's opponents. That's interesting. I don't think, bar maybe Bangor City last year, where we were one of only 2 professional teams in the country, I don't think we've ever had a promotion where we've then been predicted by the media to finish in the top half. I think that shows why we broke 100 points last year, because the squad is that good. And with the strengthening we've done, particularly to the backup team or to the rotation options, I think we're going to be right in the mix for mid-table, maybe even an outside chance of the playoffs. So Mansfield, one of the favourites to go down. If we win this, as the media expects, it may give us a nice building block to start with. But crucially, we've got to live up to that expectation, because weirdly, the media expect top half as a promoted side. I genuinely don't think I've ever seen that. Let's pick the team. We're not going to make too many changes today from last season. We'll gradually bed them in. We've got a cup game in 4 days' time we can start doing that. But for now, it's probably going to be the tried and trusted. Let's go and pick our 11. We'll be back in a minute to run through it. Well, I said we were going to stick familiar with the starting 11. We've done more than that. It's the exact same first team that finished last season as League 2 champions. Geacock between the sticks, McDonough and McGinley the fullbacks, with Brian Watt and Farquharson at centre-half. Egan, Alidor, Hamilton, Reid and Swan the midfield diamond, with Ricky J. Jones and Javan Malcolm up front, had a real hit to their current ability or their star rating as the summer's gone on. But they haven't declined attribute-wise, so whether the squad's getting stronger, whether they're getting weaker, I don't know. We'll find out as we go along. We've got a real quality bench. All 4 of the summer signings, the youth ones, Richardson, Bullock, Thornley and Bennett Sharif are there. They'll all start at the Swansea game. And then Nydam, the club captain, Hazeman, the returning midfield star, and Stuart Parry, the young striker, with a bag of potential. What a team we've got. I'm really excited. I hope we can live up to it in this one. Fingers crossed for a win to start the season. Let's go and find out. What do you think in the comments? Well, the benefit to keeping the same 11 as last year is that we have got tactical familiarity at the start of the season with this team. But there is the one that got away in the Mansfield team. Anyone recognise the name? Niall Brookwell in the holding role for them. The man we tried to sign last summer deadline day with about half an hour to go. How different that could have been. But he's here for Mansfield today. McGuinness at centre-half, a good player. Tom Clifford, the skipper. Someone I'm sure we've had on this channel before. And some real quality throughout the squad. So it's going to be a tough game. It won't be easy. But we are expected to beat them. And it feels very weird coming up as a promoted side. Let's get into the first half, see if we can back it up. And can our front two continue their League 2 form in League 1? That's the big question and will be key to our success. Well, a quiet 15 minutes, but it's a Mansfield goal kick now, which is headed up more than away by Reid. Falls for McDonough at right back. Goes inside to Hamilton and Egan. Swan picks it up in the number 10 role to Ricky J. Jones. Plays it back to McDonough. Thought he was going to try and put him in there, but doesn't. Just goes back. It's a very patient start. Farquharson to McDonough. Into Hamilton. Again, thought he was going to do it to Egan. Here is Ricky J. Jones. Swan runs off him. Only scores important goals. Oh, dinks the keeper and hits the bar. A wonderful move from Hemel Hempstead Town. And we know if Swan scores, we don't lose. But that one, unfortunately, just got away from us. And it stays 0-0. 5 shots, none on target. But let's encourage the lads because they're doing well. As Reid's got a free kick. Short to Will Swan. He goes all the way back to Hamilton and Reid again. Waiting for that right ball. Just goes back again. There's no rush. It's very patient. It's out to McGinley. Ball into Ricky J. Jones. Savage got there just in time. It was wonderful defending. And it's back to the Mansfield keeper. Now don't concede on the break. Flicked on by Mansfield. Farquharson there. Really good defending. Back to Geacock. Be interesting to see if he can make the step up well. We'd like to hope he can. He did very well for us last season. As Reid finds Javan Malcolm on a yellow card. Turns back on his right foot. Goes back to McGinley. I thought he could have taken his man on there. Goes back to Brian Watt to Reid. Some of the football's delightful. It's just overhit on the through ball for Jones. To the byline. Crosses in. Overhit for Malcolm. He's now on the left wing. Down by the corner flag. Back to Arthur Reid. To Malcolm again. Played onside. To Jones at the back post. And the flag goes up. I'm really not sure about that. But it's been given. We're not up in a VAR league yet. And it stays 0-0. But the signs, performance-wise, incredibly promising. We've got a free kick on the right again with Reid. 5 to go in the half. McGinley at the back post. Just wide of the near stick. It stays 0-0. And at half-time we're being frustrated. But I guess the positives you can take early in the season is we're very dominant still. So we're going to tell the lads to keep going, to work hard. I'm sure they've got a victory in them. But we might have to rely on the super subs today because it's still 0-0 with 50 gone. We're just over an hour on the clock and we're back in possession again with Alidor Hamilton. We'll think about changes in a moment. Javan Malcolm not having the best game. But there's not really anything else to do because the midfield and Ricky J. Jones have been great. We've just not got the goal. Alidor Hamilton to McDonough. Goes back to Farquharson. Inside to Egan. He's got support but just playing safe. Maybe a little too safe on the opening day. This is sort of what happened the first month of last year though. Swan releases Malcolm. About to take him off. Definitely will now because that was a great chance. and it goes begging. We're going to take him off for Stuart Parry. Didn't get as much of a chance last season, but could yet be the super sub here. He did that a few times last year, despite not being too active in the squad. So it's a long ball forward. Alador Hamilton wins it. Swan flicks it down, up to Ricky J. Jones, and back out to McDonough. We need to get Jones in a more advanced position. Get up the pitch and get in behind. Brian Moore's got it, left side of the centre halves. To McGinley, into Will Swan, who's had a really good game. Runs on his own, it's a good challenge, but falls for McGinley. Up towards Parry, he's in one-on-one. He can't do it again, can he? Oh, Stuart Parry is one hell of a super sub. And I tell you what, if a big offer comes in for Javan Malcolm, I'm not ruling it out, because Parry is just that good. And I believe we've got a wonderful chance. Let's go and get the subs on. We're going to see some debutants. Alador Hamilton has been average. So Callum Hazeman, I think, will make his return today. 20 minutes to go. 2 changes made. We'll go and make one more in a moment. But hopefully we can hold on to this all-important result. Will Swan has been great today, but he does struggle with fitness occasionally. So Leon Bullock is going to make his debut. I don't really want to change the back 6. I want to keep it sturdy there. Can we hold on though? Brookwell's got a throw on the right. We've been dominant. It would be a real kick in the teeth if a side that have shown no threat get the win. Oh my words. Of course I meant get the equaliser rather than the win. It should have been there. Great save by Gcott, the keeper. And Clifford's got the corner kick. What are they like from set pieces? Not as good as us. Farquharson heads away. McGuinness though, out wide, must be offside. It is. Free kick given. Let's encourage the lads. There's 5 to go. And they're doing all right, but they're not happy with that talk. Clifford puts the corner in. Headed away by Hazeman. And Jones might get there first. He doesn't. Sinclair just wins it. Savage gets there. Back to Matete. Out wide to the left-hand side. Olasanya. Brilliant ball into Brookwell. Oh, it was always going to be him. That is absolutely astonishing. Niall Brookwell, the man that is only playing for Mansfield because we bid 15 minutes too late on deadline day last year. And he has snuck Mansfield a point in a game we truly deserve the win. Although, hang on a minute, we've got one more chance. 95 gone, Reed in, Egan off the bar. Parry gets it away, back in again to Hazeman. Heads over. Oh, I thought we'd nicked it. A cruel result after a brilliant performance. But what are the chances? Niall Brookwell, not signing him comes back to haunt us. But you know what? There are a lot of encouraging signs for the season. Don't forget last year, it took us about 2 months to get going. We struggled in the first month or two. But once we hit form, we were an unstoppable force. And based on what I've seen today at our best, and once those youngsters get bedded in, I genuinely believe we can be real contenders. But no threat of relegation based on that display. Got to get the results to match it though. That's the only thing yet to come. Let's have a look at the schedule though for when we're next going to be back. I think we'll do what we normally do. Transfer deadline day, because there always seems to be a surprise, even if I think the squad's complete. And we've got some big players wanted, so maybe we'll get a couple of big tempting bids at the end of the month. We'll then show Accrington away, the first game after transfer deadline day in League One. And we'll see just how this squad's shaping up after playing Scunthorpe, a side that would maybe be in a relegation mix, and big sides like Peterborough and Charlton too. If you want to find out how we get on, whether there's more news to come on transfer deadline day, please do put a thumbs up on the video. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the signings, what you thought of the performance, and whereabouts you think we'll finish this year. And subscribe down below and turn that notification bell on for daily FM22 content. The head coach will be back tomorrow as we end our season there, before a transfer special in that one in 3 days' time. And we'll be back here 2 days' time at 3:30 PM. for transfer deadline day and Accrington Stanley. Anything you may have missed is in the eye above, but a massive thank you for watching, and I hope you're looking forward to this season, because I think once it gets going, it could be a cracker. I'll see you next time to find out if it is.